Alright, so before I showcase our current progress, I want to say a couple of things to basically as a warning to whoever else decides to work on their own game engine. The more modular you make it, basically, how do I put it? The complexity of your game engine is going to be the modularity of your engine squared. That I kid you not. There was a couple of things, a couple of I would consider them hacks, but they're really not. A couple of things that I needed to do to keep everything hooked together nicely. Because the physics bodies are separate from the actors themselves, and I wanted different types of physics bodies, the fact of this, as well as the fact that I have a spatial hash table and all these other things, I needed to do a couple of dirty tricks that I didn't like. One of them, which you may end up needing to do as well, is creating an object deletion pool, where you basically, in your levels or your engine's code somewhere, you would have a thing that, or basically an array that references all the objects that are told to be deleted. And then after all the physics are done, and after the hash table is done and all that, then you go through that array and you delete all the actors that are inside of that array. That's one thing. The other thing is that I needed to create, for the actors, I needed to create a special delete function that handled deleting the actor. Now the reason is because the physics body is referenced by the actor, and the physics body is also referenced by the hash table, and it's hard to explain, but basically I got a couple of invalid memory accesses because when I deleted the actor at the time before I created the delete function, it was responsible for cleaning itself up after it was told to be deleted. The thing about this is that sometimes, for some strange reason, with the GCC, the General C++ compiler, it deleted a part of itself. It was either the physics body and or the actor. Actually, I think it was both at certain points. And they were invalid memory while the destructor was still running. I guess because I was going one too many functions out, I'm not sure. But yeah, be very careful of that. So with that aside, let me go ahead and showcase what we've got so far. So basically, like I've mentioned not long ago, I've implemented a spatial hash table. Now, it eats up about 1 gigabyte, I think, a little under that. And it stretches out, it's 10 pixels wide by 10 pixels tall, and it stretches out, basically, these walls here, it stretches out about 5K of these walls. And this gray area you see is what I've put in my level editor, my level editor, to sort of indicate where the hash table is, that way I don't accidentally put something outside of it. Now if I do that, it's not going to hurt it, it's not going to hurt anything. Bullets and stuff can go outside of it just fine, and it's not going to cause any random crash. That I was surprised that actually worked. But yeah, that's just a nifty little indicator. Anyway, so all the collision has been sort of upgraded and tweaked. Because of the spatial hash table, we can have numerous, like a crap ton of bullets in one small area, and it's not really going to slow anything down. Unless, of course, there's like 500 bullets within a 10 pixel by 10 pixel box, but the odds of that are practically zero. So anyway, to showcase how the level editor works, if I haven't done so yet, which I probably have, but oh well. Just going to put a few, these are supposed to be enemies, a few of these guys all over the place. There we go. That should work. Now to just recompile it. Only take a second. There we go. And to run the level. Takes a second to load up. What you see in the top left corner is actually the health bar that I sort of makeshiftedly put in there. So left click, player shoots. and the direction of which the mouse is aiming. These guys, if you get close enough, they'll follow you, and if you get closer than that, then they start shooting. I was experimenting with a shotgun-based algorithm where the bullets kind of spread depending on where they're facing when they shoot, sort of. And it's, as you can see, it's kind of messed up, but it still gives the basic idea. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of them. But as you could pretty much tell, I can go over 500, 600, even like a few thousand, probably even over 10,000 bullets, and still not have any issues at all. It works perfectly fine. In fact, that's why I put all these guys here, to sort of demonstrate that if I can without dying. It's a little slow. But the majority of that was actually because of that shotgun algorithm. A whole bunch of the bullets were actually in one spot, and then the rest were spread out further and further. If I can show it. Yeah, see that? The arc, sort of, the more it arcs over in one direction, the more the bullets spread out. Still, that's not bad. I plan on tweaking this to make the hash table work with it better. I don't know, I'll either have to make the level smaller or something like that, or find a way to maybe compress it. Nah, that's a bad idea. But I'll find some way to fix this and make it to where we can have even more bullets and whatnot in the level, and it'll be just fine. Now, in case you don't know, how a spatial hash table works is that the more things you have in one tiny point, or one tiny area, basically the size of a hash. A spatial hash table, I should explain this, is basically like a big giant square or grid with a bunch of little tiny squares in it. And each of those little squares holds references to all the actors that are inside of it, even partially. So because of this, if the point of it is to make it so that a physics body or an actor only checks the squares that are near it. And if you have like 500 bullets in one square, then all of those bullets are going to check against each other. So it's literally 500 calculations times 500. That's, I think that was 250,000 or something like that. Yeah, it's a pretty big number. Whereas if you had 500 bullets spread out across the spatial hash table, like in separate hashes of their own, then it would only be 500 collision checks per frame, as opposed to the 2,500,000. So yeah, and besides this, I plan on reducing the bullet count on this shotgun thing quite a lot, and that's only going to be for certain few enemies. Player has a lot of health at the moment, just mostly for testing purposes. So yeah, everything seems to work out alright. We plan on adding basically destructible meshes, hopefully with some special animations for that. Oh, something I want to show. He goes to where he last saw me, more or less. And I can stretch out the range of, like, before, you know, I can stretch out the range of how far they can see me. Anyway. So, I got distracted. What was I saying? Wow, this is actually kind of fun. Oh yeah, so we're going to add some chest items, destructible meshes, which are basically things like walls or trees or decorations that can be torn apart, things that we can use to, basically I want to make it so that the player can use the environment to their advantage, more or less. And, yeah, eventually, now this is going to be eventually, after we make a few levels, release a demo of this game, and after we release a first-person, like, full-on game, after a while I plan on adding a feature that'll make this multiplayer as an optional sort of feature, and it's basically going to be like a, or at least the first idea is that it's basically going to be like a big giant arena, kind of like a lot of IO games you see where players are basically shooting at each other. I don't know, I might add walls and stuff inside of it, I'm not sure, I'll figure that out later, but still, there will be multiplayer within it later. We do not plan on selling this game, actually, as surprising as that sounds. What we plan on doing is releasing it for free, and then possibly the source code for free too. I'm still not sure about that. And definitely some mod tools though. Definitely mod tools, if at all possible. Or maybe I'll just include the level editor. But nah, it's our basic source of revenue, if we're gonna get any, because I'm not expecting this to get a whole lot of attention, is basically we're gonna have it so that if a player, like, we'll have special art stuff, like certain weapons or characters or something that you could either earn or basically pay for to get early. And yeah, we'll basically be selling content, not the game, and we'll make sure that the content for the multiplayer doesn't really mess with the multiplayer. It's going to be purely aesthetic. So yeah, this isn't really made for the purpose of making money. It's more or less to get me to stretch out the game engine as much as possible and to sort of get attention to our team and hopefully get some more members to help out. So yeah, let me know what you think of it.